What's up, guys? One with the Duel here, with a deck profile video from Underground members of a deck that I made myself about a week ago. Originally I made this deck for shits and giggles, and now it's actually going to be one of my top 3 main decks that I would run. Not my main deck, because I main deck Dragoonides, but it is still a good deck, and I like to run it. And I keep zooming in. Damn camera makes me forced to zoom. Anyway, the deck list, and the name is not very creative, is called Starstrike Blast. That's what I'm calling it, because if you haven't figured this out, it focuses around this guy right here, Shooting Star Dragon. Yeah. But anyway, the deck is pretty consistent. I mean, it starts out slow a lot of the time, but once you get your shit rolling, it is really hard to stop. Yeah, the deck is dragon based. So, now that I'm on the topic of dragons, point out that this is going to be a two-purpose video, dual purposes. Purpose number 1, to be a deck list, of course. And then purpose number 2, to explain to those people of Undergrounds that are running dragons and don't really understand how to use them, or new people that are a part of Underground that want to play dragons and don't understand them, or don't really have a decent enough build, like it's just miscellaneous dragon shit in there. And just to explain that, because I've been playing dragons since I started the game. Also, for Underground people who know other people who are trying to play dragons, they could show this or whatever. Somehow they'll watch this or whatever, but it's assistance and a deck list. Yeah, starting out with the actual deck list, and I'm making this video with one hand. One's holding the camera and the other one's, yeah. Alright, anyway, first up, you got 2 Darkness Metal Dragons, and there are going to be some people out there that are going, what the fuck? There are other people that are going, that's okay. I'll explain this later. Then I got 1 Prime Material, because it's amazing. You don't need more than 1. I mean, you could run more than 1. It wouldn't be that bad, but I say you only need 1. Next card, 2 Genesis Dragon. This is reason number 1 why I'm only running 2 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragons. Sorry, and 2 Wyverns, which this is reason number 2 why I'm running only 2 Darkness Metals, and this seems more like a reason I should run 3, but no, I'm running 2. Moving on into Mirage Dragon for trap control. Then 1 Debris Dragon. When you go into your formula synchrons for Shooting Star and you need to get them back for reasons, Debris helps. And Debris teamed up with Genesis is really good. Then the main line of defense is this guy right here. Hold on. I'm trying to get the cards because I'm tripping out. Alright. 3 Mass Dragon. It's really good at 3. I like playing it at 3. I mean, 2 would be okay, but I play it at 3 because every target that is below level 4, and then there's Debris Dragon, can come out with this. So it's like half your monsters come out with just Mass Dragon getting killed. Card teams up well with Exploder Dragon. Freaking hellacious card. I was running it at 3, but I just feel a little bit more comfortable running it at 2 for some reason. Don't know why, just like it better at 2. And then another card it pairs up with, which makes this deck like it's running 5 Mast, is Dread Dragon. All Dread is a Mast that adds to hand instead of special summoning. Second most important tuner in the main deck. The most important tuner that it's in the main deck is Flamvel Guard. Right here, level 1, how you go into, what's it called, Formula Synchron. Then the most important non-tuner in here is Stardust Xiaolong, of course. This in Flamvel is your Formula Synchron. Alright, so yeah, that's the monster lineup into spell and trap cards. Burial from a Different Dimension, because of the Wyverns, and then the Red Eyes that removes from play once or twice, so this is into there. Dark Hole, because you gotta have it. Future Fusion, to drop all the stuff you're gonna need into the graveyard for this guy. And it sets you up really fast. You get this first turn and the deck just goes off. And even if it gets stopped on the first turn, you will be able to get this back. And I'll explain that later when I get there. Giant Trunade. It's good. And another way that I speed the deck up is with 3 Sarcos. It's funny running it at 3, and oddly enough, I don't run into this too often. Once I get into the first one, I Sarco, the deck gets all shuffled up, and then once I get what I need, it doesn't even matter if I do or don't top into these. And oddly enough, I don't. Like, I top into them when I need them, like a turn in between when I actually need them the most. And then after that, I don't see a lot of it. It's weird. Then Monster Reborn, another thing you gotta have. And then your 2 MSTs. And I'm running 2 Pot of Benevolence. Some people were probably thinking Magical Stone, but no, Pot of Benevolence. This card lets me say fuck you to the ban list and restrictions on other cards and shit. I'd run this at 3, but I think 3 is a little bit too much. I mean, just for the lineup. But 2 is still really good. Only way this card could be any better is if it didn't remove itself from play. And for people who don't know what this card does, I'm going to zoom in on the effects so you can read this. Sorry about the lighting. Alright, what this does. You select 1 card from, 2 cards from the graveyards, sorry. And you shuffle them into the decks. And that means Necros and Plague Spreaders can get fucked up by this. After the activation, you remove this card from play instead of sending it to the graveyard. And you can only activate 1 of these per turn, so it's kind of like a duality. You don't draw any cards off this, but it is still... zooming in. It is still really good. Let you get back your Solemns, Mirror Forces, Reborns, Future Fusions. With this card, I've ended up using triple Trunade, which is funny. But anyway, moving into the few cards that I proxied. I have 6 cards proxied, 3 in the main deck, 3 in the extra deck, and here's 3 that are in the main deck. 3, Pot of Duality. I'm going to be getting these because they're supers in the tin, so it's not like, why are you running dualities? You're never going to get those. No, but I'm running dualities as proxies right now. Once I get them, this thing is going to be tried out in tournament. But duality helps this deck to kick ass. I say it needs to be at least 2. You could probably take out 1 and then throw in another Exploder. Or, like, the 40-second space in this deck, because there's 41 cards in here. The 40-second space, I was going to try out a Star Blast. But I'm kind of deciding against that. But you can still go ahead and do that anyway. And one of my trap cards got stuck up with the Pot of Dualities. Anyway, now just to move into the trap cards real quick, in case you didn't see that, which I don't know how you can miss it. 2 Bottomless. Say this needs to be at 2, even if you're going to run warnings. You need to have at least 1 Bottomless with your double warning, or you need to have Bottomless with double Bottomless with 1 warning. You need to have this plus warning, whatever their numbers are, add up to 3 at least, minimum. And I don't have any warnings, so that. Alright, Call the Haunted. Must have in this deck. Other than Debris, you use this to get back formulas or your Red Eyes or whatever you need. Then Compulsory. Compulsory, I say, is absolutely 100% necessary in this deck. It's offensive, defensive, and then technical. Offensive because you get rid of their monsters and then go in for attacks. Defensive because when they attack, you can just get rid of the monster that's trying to kick you in the face. Or, if your field gets clustered up, you can play Alteki and then go Compulsory, get a dragon monster back to your hand that you can get back out with Red Eyes, go into your Scrap Dragons or whatever else you need, and then once you're done with that, just go back into what you had the next turn. Then, of course, the obvious choices are Mirror Force and Solemn Judgment. Yep, gotta have them. Wow, this is going to be a really long video. So this may be like a 20-minute video. I don't know. That's going to be really freaking long. But anyway, extra deck now. Of course, you got your 5-headed. Then you got the 1, 2, 3 Shooting Star Dragons that I'm running in here. Most of the time, you hit into this, and that's the whole point of the deck. But when you hit into the first one, the second one comes out within like the next turn or so. And then once you hit 2, if you want to, you can just like not effortlessly, but you can just like kind of just sit there and chill and like control their field and then try to go into the third one just to be an ass. But there are the instances when randomly you'll have 2 out already, and then there's like, oh, I can go into a third one. And yes, it does happen sometimes, because Call of the Haunted Reborn, Debris, yeah, not incredibly difficult to get 3 out. And then the weird card, and not because of what it is, but for how many I'm running, 2 Stardust. Some people are like, you should probably run 3 of those if you're running triple Shooting Star. I have lost count of how many times I've only gone into 1 Stardust the whole game and 1 Formula, and then gotten out all 3 of my Shooting Stars. You can even ask EDT1CB2, because he's like the only person that, him and our friend Urias is one of the few people who's actually played this. And yeah, this deck actually, once it goes off, kicks the shit out of Fish OTK. So boom. Then you got your Scrap Dragon, of course, gotta have it. I'm running double Black Rose Dragon, just because sometimes you need to go into a miscellaneous 7, and you know, there's Black Rose, so 2, because you can keep adding up to 8 with your Formula Synchron or whatever. Then, for the Debris thing, in case you don't want to go into Black Rose, there's Exploder Dragonwing. So I've got 3 7 targets, sorry. Then, the random moments that 6s come along, there's Iron Chain for the Debris instance, and then, of course, the staple Brio. This deck doesn't run any level 5s. Catastor is not good in this deck at all. It really isn't. I can't explain why. It just sucks. Scrap Dragon makes up for not running Catastor, obviously. Then the proxies, 3 Formula Synchron. I made Formula as proxies because they're gonna be harder to get than Duality, because Duality is gonna be a promo. But yeah, 3 formulas, gotta have 3. Because the first one comes out, they'll fuck that up. The second one comes out, if they screw that up, then you're kind of dead if you only run 2. With 3, you get past all the really, it takes you a little bit longer, granted, but you have the backup formula. Alright, now, going into the dragon explanation part of this deck, the 2 Red Eyes. I ran this at 2 because Genesis cycles it back, and plus I needed space to put in more of the necessary tuner monsters and stuff to go into Formula. So that's why it's at 2. The reason Wyvern was a big part of why this was 2 is because if I run 3 Darkness Metals, I feel the necessity to run 3 Wyverns. And originally I was going to run 2 Darkness Metals and 3 Wyverns, but 3 takes up too much space, and there's no reason to run more than 2. Because I've only got 2, and then there's Burial that gets it back. And normally this hits the field, you get out Shooting Star, and even if this leaves the field, you can just use Shooting Star or Stardust or whatever to stall out until you can get it back. So it's not a huge deal. So 2 is actually better in the deck. I prefer it at 2. Alright, then Prime Material. Gets past the magic cylinders that are now being randomly played in a lot of decks, plus Marshmallow, and then EDT1's little favorite that he started up, Giant Germ. This card gave me plus 15 off Giant Germ, plus 1,500 points of life. So that was funny. Genesis, and go back into explaining this. This level 6 normal summon monster, special summons out with Red Eyes, of course. There's you can because there's more monsters than there are spell and trap cards in this deck, I believe, or I might be versing that out. But anyway, this deck usually always has at least 1 monster card in its hand, and every single monster is dragon. So Genesis can hit the field, and you can pitch a dragon from your hand to the grave and get back Debris or get back Red Eyes. So 2 Wyverns and 2 of these is all I need. So this, Monster Reincarnation is pointless because I'm running 2 of these. Monster Reincarnation is a good card, and if I wasn't running Genesis, I'd probably be running 1 or 2 of those. I'd definitely be running 1, but because I'm running Genesis, that's good. And plus, it's the main non-tuner I use to go into Stardust with the Dreads. So it's all around a fantastic card. Wyverns, remove it from play, get back Darkness Metal. Level 4, so you can go into level 6s with Dread, or really, all it is tributes, or remove from play if you need it, or it's just an 1800 beater at the moment. They're better off in the grave, to be perfectly honest, so that's about it. Mirage, spell and trap, it's trap control. It's basically a Dragon Jinzo during battle phase, except you can use your own traps. So it's always good. I like being able to drop Mirage, and that was another reason I decided with Wyvern at 2, because I needed space for that. Alright, one Debris Dragon. I only need one because Genesis cycles it back. And even if it gets removed from play, like, a good play to do with this is go Debris, get back Flamvel Guard or whatever, remove this from play, go into Darkness Metal. So, it's good, and you only need it at 1. You can run it at 2. Nothing bad about running it at 2, but you only need it at 1. Triple Mast, already explained this when I got there. It's a good wall, the defensive backbone. Exploder Dragon, bombs the shit out of things. Gets over Armor Masters, gets over Obelisk the Tormentor because it doesn't target. Pairs up really well with Light and Darkness Dragon because if they're like, they use card effects to drop your lad and then you just go, they pass over your lad, then you can just go into, when lad goes to grave, this comes out and they can just be like, oh, crap. Alright. Dread Dragons, already explained these. They add to hand, and they're the level 2 tuner of the deck, which goes into Stardust most of the time. 2 Flamvel Guards, important tuner, 2000 defense, so you can use this as wall with mass too. Just be like, boom. That's another good thing about Debris and Guard. Reason you don't need Debris is because you've got the 2 guards, so it's really the defense points that kind of came into how I determine how many of what's in here. Then 2 Xiaolong. Once per turn, can't be destroyed by battle, and whenever Stardust hits the field by Synchro Summon, whenever you Synchro it, you can bring this from your graveyard in attack mode. Normally when it hits field, you've got spell traps or whatever, like you've got beefed up monsters that make people not want to summon anything to go at the Xiaolong because there's really no point. You do some damage, it stays on field, and you're set, like, it makes it, Xiaolong makes it so easy to go into formula in here, so, yeah. Already explained Burial, because this, every single monster in here can be removed from play because of Red Eyes. So let's say you're in a really bad situation, you got Red Eyes in hand, you got, say, Shooting Star Dragon on the field, and oddly enough, you need to get Red Eyes out and not keep your Shooting Star. You can remove Shooting Star from play, special summon Red Eyes, Burial from DD, your Shooting Star, and bring it back because it was Synchro Summoned, and it never went back to the deck, or went back to hand, which would just make it go back to the extra deck. So, randomly, if you just want to get some more beaters out, you could have 2 Shooting Stars out and a Red Eyes in hand, remove a Shooting Star, go for Red Eyes, Burial the Shooting Star, and bring it back. But, yeah, mainly this is so you get your Wyverns back to bring Red Eyes back from your grave when that gets the crap kicked out of it. But once you get Shooting Stars out, I mean, it doesn't really die too often. Dark Hole destroys everything, but one good strategic way to use this, other than, this acts kind of like a compulsory, but not as long to recover from it, because like 4 times I've used Dark Hole while I had a Stardust and a Shooting Star out, and a Red Eyes or whatever, just so I could tribute the Stardust and gain an extra space so I could special something, then synchro into something else that I needed, and then at the end phase, Stardust just comes back and everything's all good. So, Dark Hole serves more purposes than just destroying shit. Future Fusion. Now, normally, with this deck, you'd send Genesis, Flamvel Guard, Xiaolong, Debris, and some Wyverns or whatever. But you can mix it up depending upon what you need. And in any dragon deck, that is like, if you've got at least 8 dragon targets in there, you gotta have at least 8. You can't have just 5 and then, because that relies too much on topping into this. You gotta have more than 5, and you can't go 6. You gotta have 8 at least. Because if I only had 7 targets in my Dragoonides, because I run Future Fusion and Dragoonides, if I had any less dragons in my deck, Future Fusion would be out. But yeah, and it's always good, because this, it serves multiple purposes. 1, it gets all your shit in the grave that you need. 2, you can get out a 5,000 attack point beater within the next 2 turns, but normally you want to, like, you don't want to avoid it, but you got to get as much stuff done as possible with the space that you have until it takes up your monster card zone. Sometimes I've gotten rid of my own 5-headed because it just got too much space taken up, because I needed to go into Scrap Dragon, or whatever, to get past that random Marshmallow. And then, third purpose, it distracts from your other face downs if you have them that are important, like Call of the Haunted, and it gets really funny. And then once you get to a point to where you got like double shooting star, red eyes, and then your 5-headed's about to come out, you can use shooting stars to block this from being destroyed if you really want 5-headed out, because 5-headed does help when it hits field sometimes. True Nade, this paired up with this within your first turn that you activate Future Fusion doubles up on how much stuff you got set in your grave. And you deplete half your monsters, which means you draw no more spell and trap cards that help you, so it's really, really helpful. Sarko. Runes to play the card you need, so yeah, just to speed things up and gets what you have a lot faster. Mainly Future Fusion, but you get Monster Reborn and stuff off of it, so yeah, and Dark Hole if you need it. Monster Reborn brings back the monster, of course. Double MST. This is more just face down awareness, because you will run into the random Book of Moon, and sometimes, I mean, even if you MST it, I mean, it's better to MST it before battle phase so you can flip them back up and still use them to attack. Like, because you MST a book and they'll be like, haha, book your Mirage Dragon if it's out. As long as you haven't attacked, you can bring it back up, so it's more like to be aware of books, because Mirage takes care of the trap cards. Yep, this is running in like 21 minutes. Alright, Benevolence, really good, gets back what you need. Explained this when I got there. As for the dualities, when you use the dualities, you get what you need. You can go into Future Fusion the turn you get it with duality, which is why duality is really good in here. And plus with Triple Mast Dragon, this is another reason I run Triple Mast, you can afford to just sit and wait a turn. So the special summon restriction is not too bad. Alright, 2 Bottomless, stop those pesky summons, gets rid of the Thunder Kings, the Neos Aliases, the Kalakins, and once priority goes away, this thing is going to be more broken than any normal trap card could ever be. Alright, Call the Hunted, gets back formulas, and your Stardust, or your Red Eyes, or whatever you need. It's just another monster retrieval card. Compulsory, explained this already. Mirror Force, gotta have it, and Solemn. Regardless, any deck, even if you're running 3 Decrees in there, some people play it like pretty much every single deck, 99% of all decks. Even the people, I've seen people who play 3 Decrees and 2 Trap Stuns and still run a Solemn Judgment. So yeah, this is more staple than Mirror Force. But, I mean, now, any deck that can run this, and it won't be bad to run it, has no excuse not to run it because it's common. But yeah, so that probably didn't explain too much about dragons, but what I'm getting at is the main thing that I need to explain, because I explained all the cards individually. Red Eyes. This thing hits field, shit goes down, because if you got dragons in hand or graveyard, because you can go, you don't even need the synchro, you can just go into this and then go for your prime material, and you can screw stuff up. Because as long as you got cards in hand, this thing stops destruction, so it's like a mini Stardust. And it also stops burn damage. So, it's really good. You get mega pluses off of Prime Material and Red Eyes and everything. Plus, it's level 6, so it goes well with Dread Dragon. Well, yeah, that was the longest video I've ever made in my entire life. And, this is OneWithTheDuel with my Starstrike Blast deck. Comment, rate, and subscribe the deck. Subscribe to me, subscribe to EDT1CV2, who is also underground, and subscribe to other people like Holy Cheetos, GOpera85, Goku21, LA Dude504, and Destiny Panda 504, personal friends of mine that I know from my locals. But yeah, and oh, just another thing, just a little thing I'd like to say, Black Rose doesn't hit the field that often. So you can afford to run that at 1. And the reason I'm saying, bringing this up now, because I just thought about this, if you take out 1 Black Rose, that gives you room for the card that I like to refer to as the level 4, well, no, I don't really have a name for it, but it makes your level 4 monsters in here that you don't really use for synchros less useless. Because if you were to run 1 Black Rose, I'd advise running a Utopia. Only reason being is because of Wyverns. Wyverns will hit the grave eventually, but I'd rather just, like, be able to, I've had so many times when I've had Mirage and then Wyvern and then there's no face down, so Mirage is kind of pointless. So I'd go into Utopia. I'd rather go into Utopia, but I never had Utopia until today. But anyway, Utopias would be a decent card in here if you're only running one Black Rose, which most people would probably just go one Black Rose in here. So yeah, Utopia would probably take that 15th card space in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, OneWithTheDuel finally signing off of this 25-minute video. Like I said, comment, rate, subscribe, and peace out.